Okay, then we're gonna go ahead and get started, guys. What I need for you to have is that handout from yesterday. It should be taped into your notebook. Now, is there anybody that wasn't here yesterday that does not have it? Okay, Harrison, you have one? Well then, Harrison, what I'm gonna have to do is you can talk to Laurel really quickly. You're gonna have to finish this on your own time. But just go ahead and have a conversation with her about all of this. So this is just going to lead us up into our lesson today because we're pretty much doing like part 2, essentially, of Napoleon's impacts. So, Elena, good morning. Okay. No, like a permission slip that you signed to be filmed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then you go ahead and sit somewhere that's like right here, because I thought that we did. Alright, so what I need you guys to do, again, you are going to have a conversation with your partner about every single thing that you went over on yesterday's handout. So just go through it together. Make sure that you guys are all on the same page since we have not gone over it yet together. I'm going to give you guys just a few minutes for that while I take roll and kind of get settled here. So take a few minutes, have a discussion with your partners, and go ahead, please. Okay, thank you guys for having those conversations with your partners. So like I said, let's go ahead and go over these all together to make sure that we are on the same page. So that first one, based on the fact that Napoleon is practically a dictator, because this is going to help you guys answer some of your questions today, do you see this ending badly for France, or do you see there being a positive outcome considering that reputation that he's built for himself and the popularity that he has also built for himself? Let me hear from Mez. What'd you guys come up with? What do you think? It's just an opinion question, so. Okay, and what are some of those positive things that you really do see happening for France based off your readings from yesterday? Right, so more of a stable government, okay? So we obviously know that with a stable government, you have a much higher chance at being successful, okay? Thank you, Mez, I appreciate that. Moving on to document 2. So this really explains education and Napoleon's view on education. So how does Napoleon view education? Let me hear from Mitchell. Go ahead. How does he view it? Right, so that public education really is the most important thing. If you are going to want to run a country well, or if you want to have citizens that can also participate, you're going to want them to be educated, okay? So education definitely the most important, as well as women being educated during this time. Moving on to document source 2, this is, okay, if you guys don't have your highlighter out or a pencil, star this section right here, okay, that talks about the Napoleonic Codes. So document 2, that is like the biggest thing that Napoleon creates during this time, because these Napoleonic Codes are going to be adopted by several other European nations. Because this is going to be the first time that there is really a set of laws that every single person follows, that applies to everybody. Right, so we've talked about the third estate, right, where first and second estate, they pretty much had different rules and laws that they followed compared to the third estate. This is going to be the first time that we see everybody following that, okay? So what are some positives of our Napoleonic Code? Elijah, give me one positive that you wrote down on your chart. Education for women and men. Thank you very much. Kendra, give me one other positive that you came up with. Freedom of religion, right? So now everybody gets to practice their own religion. Perfect. Michael, what is another positive that we could have added to our list? The ability to choose your profession. Now again, remember, we have no more estate system, so everybody is in the same class, so they have the ability to pick whatever job they would like to be in. Okay, very good. There should be one more that we have. Emily, do you happen to have that one for me? Abolition of the hierarchy, right? So now we don't have that hierarchy system anymore. There's no more first, second, and third estate. Everybody's on the same playing field. Okay, very good. Moving on to negatives. What are some of those negatives of the code? Autumn, can you go ahead and give me one, please?
Men have stronger authority than women.
Yes, men now have pretty much full authority over women. So if you are married during this time, the men pretty much get to rule over them and have every say in every part of their lives. So we understand that he strips women completely of their rights. Okay, very good. What is another negative? Ben, can you give me one, please?
Give children no power at all.
Say that one more time.
Give children no power at all.
Oh, right, so illegitimate children. So again, now illegitimate children also get their rights stripped away, so women and illegitimate children have no rights, okay? That's kind of the whole point of the French Revolution, was to ensure that everybody had rights, yet Napoleon comes in and kind of takes those away from certain groups of people, okay? Very good. Moving on to document 3, why do we think separation of church and state is important for the success of a government? Joseph, can you go ahead and answer that for me, please?
It's important because, like, it doesn't mean that one church makes a choice to the entire state. They freedom of religion, basically.
Right, so again, playing back off that freedom of religion. During this time, or before the French Revolution, everybody had to be Catholic. You had no choice, okay? Just because the church was connected to the state, again, you didn't really have freedom of religion in that sense. And then, like Joseph said, when you have the church involved, they are heavy into making decisions for the government, okay? So obviously they are going to make decisions that benefit themselves and benefit the Catholics of that time, or like the clergy. That was that first estate, okay? Very good. Now that last question, what are your overall thoughts and opinions on Napoleon so far? Each of you have something different, so I'm not gonna ask you guys to give me your opinions, because your opinion might honestly change today after we go over our handout. And after I go over just like my little mini lecture for you guys. Alright, so on your table of contents, you could pretty much just put another page number on it. So you guys should have put this on to page 34 yesterday. The handout that I'm about to give to you guys will be taped right next to it. It looks extremely similar today. There's only 3 documents that you're gonna go over, but like I said, I'm gonna give you just a quick little mini lecture that's like 5 minutes that goes over everything on your handouts. Yes. Bella and Sean, can you guys help me really quickly? And also, if you guys need a highlighter, I have a bunch of highlighters up here. I bought a bunch. Just make sure that if you do borrow one, that I get it back, please. Is there anybody that needs this up here for another second? Oh, there we go. Okay, so our learning target, same as yesterday. Rangers are going to be able to describe Napoleon's internal impact on France and his external impact on Europe. You guys are going to more focus on the Europe aspect of it today. So today, again, you're going to see some more positive and negative impacts. And you guys are also going to start looking at the downfall of Napoleon and kind of see how the decisions that he makes is really going to get him exiled or pretty much kicked out of France completely. But he will come back and try to make a return. But again, we'll get into that further this week. All right, so this is kind of like catching you guys up to speed because we don't really go over this very much in depth or really at all. So I want to make sure that you guys kind of understand what's going on when you go through your handouts today. So now that we know Napoleon is essentially dictator, he's technically the emperor of France. He is going to attempt to conquer all of Europe. You guys read from his quotes yesterday that is like his main goal. He wants to have power, he wants to have control, and he sees that by taking over Europe completely. So on this map up here, what you guys are gonna see in anything that is in, what color is this? Green, oh my gosh. Green and purple, those are states that are under the control of Napoleon, or those that are allies with him or friends with him essentially. And everybody that you see within orange, so it's only like Great Britain, Sweden, Russia, and then these 2 like little countries down here. Those are the only countries that are against him or his enemies. And then everything that you also see in brown, which is just a very few sections, so France itself, and then this little section right here, that is the Empire of France. So even though this technically is not France today, during that time it was France under Napoleon. So everything, again, you guys see in green, Napoleon has control over. Anything in purple, they are allies with him or friends with him. And everything that you see in orange, which is very few countries, they are against him. And that's going to come into play today when we talk about the United Kingdom, or Great Britain, and Russia. All right, so the second document that you guys have on your handout, you guys can take a look at it really quickly because that map that I have up here is also on your handout. This is going to be known as the continental system. So what Napoleon's going to do, like I said, Great Britain is his biggest enemy and is France's biggest enemy during this time, and you guys should have made that connection when France decided to help the British citizens and trying to get their independence because France hates Great Britain, okay? So what Napoleon is going to do is he's going to try to set up a blockade using his navy. So using a bunch of ships in all of these ports, so where you guys see your little line that is drawn on your guys' map, that's the blockade. So it's an attempt to stop Great Britain from trading with anybody. When you are unable to trade and you can't make any money, the whole point is to hurt Great Britain's economy, okay? He wants to make them weak. He wants to make their economy very poor and weak by cutting off trade with the entire rest of Europe. Now, how do we think the rest of Europe is going to feel with now not being able to trade with Great Britain? Even though they've traded with them for many, many years, how do you think they're gonna feel? Not good, right? They're probably not gonna be very happy about it, which is exactly what's gonna happen. So if I'm being told that now I cannot trade with one of my biggest import or export people, again, that's losing me money. I'm now not able to sell things or buy things that are essential to running my country and my economy. So you can pretty much consider all of these nations are not going to want to listen to this continental system. They're not gonna really wanna listen to Napoleon because again, it's gonna hurt their economies too at the end of the day. But you guys are gonna see that further in your document when you go through it. And then finally, the scorched earth policy. This is going to be the third document that you guys see on your handout. So with Napoleon again trying to take over Europe and take over everybody, Russia is also not going to listen to this new continental system, and they are still going to trade with Great Britain. This is really going to upset Napoleon, and what he's gonna do is he's going to attack Russia, but Russia comes up with this plan that is known as the scorched earth policy, which essentially means that they're burning every single thing in Russia so that as Napoleon's army goes into Russia, they have no food, they have no supplies, and what's going to end up happening is because of this scorched earth policy, Napoleon starts off with 600,000 troops and 560,000 of them end up dying, okay? That's only 40,000 soldiers that are left after this scorched earth policy with Russia. But like I said, all of that is way more further detailed in your guys' documents, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background information to kind of better understand your documents when you go through them. And then finally, I'm gonna show you guys just a quick little video just to kind of give you a visual of this scorched earth policy and really understand how this ties into the continental system as well. I'm probably gonna be skipping through majority of it. So just a few minutes here and then I will let you guys get into your handouts with your partners.
The French Empire under Napoleon had taken Europe by storm. By the start of 1812, most of Western and Central Europe was under his control, either directly or indirectly through protectorates and alliances. No country dared to move against them except for the British. So in order for Napoleon to pressure the UK to sue for peace, he had to cut them off from trade with the rest of Europe. That meant forcing the Russians to stop trading with the British. And the best, most efficient way Napoleon knew how was through war. He had the largest and greatest fighting force Europe has ever seen at his disposal, so he marches them east, using the justification of liberating Poland from the threat of Russia. The initial Russian defense stood no chance against the 422,000 that crossed the Neman River, so the defenders engaged in a tactic known as the scorched earth policy. As they retreated, towns and crops were burned, making it impossible for the French army to live off the land.
So the Russians are the ones who are setting fire to everything, trying to burn down all of their crops. So again, the French do not have any food to survive off of.
Napoleon rushes the army towards the city of Smolensk, and by this time only 175,000 soldiers remained. This was the first major engagement, and the heavy artillery fire from both sides destroys much of the city, making it unusable for a supply base for the French. But worst of all, the bulk of the Russian army slips away once again, forcing Napoleon to abandon his plans to quarter in the city. It will be 7th of September, the next time the French finally catches up with the Russian army, which has taken position on the hillsides near a town called Borodino, some 70 miles west of Moscow. About 130,000 men were left in Napoleon's Grand Army, against Russia's 120,000. The defenders have dug themselves into the hillsides, creating defensive positions.
Okay, you guys aren't gonna have to know any of this stuff. This is, again, it's just to more give you guys a visual.
The French. It was a Pyrrhic victory at best. Upon entering Moscow, the Grand Army finds the city largely abandoned, stripped of its supplies. Fires broke out with no administrative means to control it. Despite the efforts of the French army, Moscow burns almost completely. Napoleon hoped to force the Tsar to capitulate with the capture of Moscow, but no answer came. After 1 month of camping in the ashes of the ruined city, Napoleon begins his long retreat. Winter was setting in. The lack of grass kills off the horses, and the rest are slaughtered for food. Cannons, wagons, and heavy equipment were abandoned en masse. Disease spread through the ranks and desertion soared, all the while under constant harassment by the still intact Russian army, which unlike the French could gain more manpower. By the end of the journey, the Grand Army was nothing more but a shadow of its former self. A popular legend holds that only 20,000 of the 422,000 that went into Russia made it out alive.
So after France is defeated, again, this is when Napoleon's going to go into exile. So it pretty much means he is going to be kicked out of France completely. He is not going to be their leader, but he is going to come back and regain control. But you guys are going to learn that for tomorrow. All right. Now, you guys are going to be working with your partners today. Okay, you guys are highlighting, reading these documents. Your first document is going to go over the economy of France. Your second document is going to go over that continental system. Then your third is going to go over Scorch policy. So that's all I have. Just 3 documents today. You guys are answering questions. I know that some of you are going to take the entire time. That is totally fine. But for those of you that do finish up a little bit early, I recommend that you guys continue to work on your study guides since your test is 1 week from today. Okay, your test is going to be on Tuesday. And yes, I told you guys that you were going to have a quiz today. However, I did not tell my second or third period, so your quiz is going to be tomorrow. Okay, I promise you, you will have a quiz tomorrow. Sound good? All right, go ahead and get reading. Like I said, highlighting, answering questions, and of course, if you need help to understand your documents, please let me know. But you guys are good.
Yeah. What time?
Napoleon. Whatever floats your boat. As long as you know. Yeah, you guys don't play today? You guys have a bye or something? On Monday? Yeah. Is it normally like that? Did you guys win? Did you guys play? Were they good? Either way, congrats on the win. That's okay. I'll put up a timer here for you guys, just so you have an idea of how much time you have.
continental system, so you're talking on.
Yeah, I feel like, it in effort to defeat the island, I would say Island, whenever I was little. Island nation, it was also to stop the reaching the
Yeah, so again, but like, what's the whole point of the continental system? Like, what's the whole point of stopping that trade? Who are they trying to hurt? So are they trying to hurt Europeans? Just Great Britain, yeah. So they're just trying to injure Great Britain's economy. That's the whole point. Because again, France and Great Britain don't get along. They are like, yeah, and they end up hurting themselves. Not only does France hurt themselves, that also ends up hurting, like I said, all of Europe, which is why nobody in Europe is going to follow this continental system. Other than those that are kind of forced to because they are under Napoleon's reign, which is why I showed you guys that map up here, just so you have an understanding of like those that don't have a choice. But the rest of Europe is not gonna be very happy. And Russia especially is not gonna be very happy, which is why, because of this continental system, they'll invade Russia. So it was a, Tsar was in power at this point, but, I mean, they had more of a stable. Well, they won't, for majority of what we learn in this class, because we learned about Russia several times. And they have a lot going on too. They're gonna have their own revolutions that we learn about during second semester. And they'll also obviously get caught up in both world wars. Alexander the First was ruling Russia during the time, and he ruled for 24 years, so a lot more stable than what France had going on. Not so much, not Alexander the First. You guys will find though that there's gonna be a lot of dictators that we learned about in Russia, and people that come to power that are. Right, absolutely, because we know that Russia is against the continental system, and a lot of those countries that we show here on this map are against that continental system. Again, it's gonna hurt their economy. So would you say that you agree with Russia in what they're trying to do for themselves? Again, understand that they are protecting themselves and their economy, okay? About 15 more minutes. Just quick raise of hands, because like I said, I know that some of you can work really quickly through these. Who is finished with today's handout? Okay. The rest of you, like I said, you guys have about 15 minutes left. What I ask that you guys do, again, find something productive to work on, whether that is in my class, another class, but again, I do recommend your study guide, so you're not cramming that all into one night. Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
anything that's outside of France. So that would be Russia, the continental system. Yeah, except for this one right here, oh, no, not Constitution Choice. Except this one right here, the one that talks about France's economy, you'll still have that one as internal, but the other two will be external. Yeah, you're welcome. Is that how it's split up on your guys' study guide? Okay. Okay. Yeah, for those of you that are on your study guide, just a clarification, for internal causes, that's anything that happened within France. So when you guys get to that Napoleon section of your study guide, internal in France, external is anything that happened outside of France. So that would be that continental system that you learned about today, as well as that scorched earth policy from Russia. Moscow? Very close. I don't care which one of you, but can you guys please go to the front office, like the one that has like the attendance people, or the student. Sean, if you wanna take a walk, you can take a walk. Okay. About Hitler is Hitler does the same thing. He tries to invade and take over everybody here. His entire goal was to really take over the world. You might have found inspiration from the Well, you can see it. raise of hands for me. Who is still working on their handout? Okay, alright. Then I will give you guys the remainder of that time left, and we'll just go over this stuff tomorrow. So if you guys are still working and continue to work, please, you guys still have about 6 to 7 minutes. For those of you that are done, again, thank you guys for being patient. I appreciate it. If you guys have questions on your study guide, today would be a really good day to ask me. I don't know if we will have any other opportunity in class to work on our study guide the rest of this week. Kirsten, is that how you feel about it? Is that how you feel about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I totally understand.
Wait, what if it is, even if it is hidden, and then we're playing, like, microphones can be better, so it's not blocking in.
Except, I mean,
Imagine them.
Hitler does take over quite a bit of Europe. I don't know how, let's see.
I don't know, so I'm not taking history next year. But I'm taking history.
Oh, you're going to take US history?
Are you kidding?
You did? What grade are you in?
You can take your history so far. I can do it.
I didn't know that you could even go out of order. Or, I mean, I don't know the state. Good idea. To tell all of those students who just took like in the freshman or the classes come their sophomore year and it's like a lot more work. A lot more.
So I don't really know.
For my answer, Mom.
add a, and then you figure it out and just move.
Yeah, right. No, I'm the same way, like, it's just right, it's just in my head, like, it literally does.
But this, I mean, since I'm
Okay, if you guys have not taped in that handout into your notebook, please make sure that you get that taped in so that we do not lose it. We're probably gonna start tomorrow's class period off very similar to today. I'm gonna have you guys go over the handouts together and then we'll go over them together as a class. So please make sure, again, and get those in, don't lose them because we need them for tomorrow. Oh my gosh, that smells amazing. No, I don't.